have a great support network around you. I think that is absolutely key. Whether it's an advisory board, whether it's, friends or family, whether it's a coach, whether it's a mentor, as I said earlier, it can be very, very lonely uh, being in that world. And so, the stats, Devin, for entrepreneurs who have mental health challenges are way higher than for those with mental health challenges that aren't in the entrepreneurial world. So that's an indicator how challenging the world can be, the entrepreneurial world can be, and how isolating it can become. So get some support around you. That's my advice.
Hey everyone, this is Devin Miller here with another episode of The Inventive Journey. I'm your host, Devin Miller, the serial entrepreneur that's grown several startups into 7- and 8-figure businesses, as well as the founder and CEO of Miller IP Law, where he helps startups and small businesses with their patents and trademarks. If you ever need help with yours, just go to strategymeeting.com, grab some time with us to chat, and we're always here to help. Now, today we've got another great guest on the podcast, Julian Harris, and Julian started his journey growing up in the UK. His dad was an attorney and followed in his dad's footsteps and became a lawyer. Got interested in the mixture between law and business. And so in 2005, took a job as a consultant in business development. That didn't work out, and came back to the UK and worked as a lawyer. And then a friend's sister was a coach, and he found that was pretty interesting. And so shifted gears, went into coaching, loved it. And it's been doing that ever since, as well as looking to make an impact on the world. So with that much as an introduction, welcome on the podcast, Julian.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
Hey, excited to have you on. So I just gave a quick introduction or quick run through to a much longer journey, but why don't we rewind and unpack that a bit and tell us a little bit more about how your journey got started.
So I'm going to go back all the way to when I was still living at home as a 16-year-old, something like that. Nice. And it was a very happy home, and dominated by and large by my dad in terms of what we talked about. And I can still remember today those conversations around the dinner table, and he was telling us all about his work, and he had such a passion for his work, and it gave him such a sense of fulfillment and purpose. And 16 is kind of when, in the UK at least, you start making decisions about the what your career is going to look like, which is kind of crazy. I mean, show me a 16-year-old that knows what they want to do with their life. So maybe it was a lack of imagination on my part. I don't know, but I couldn't think of anything else to do other than follow in my dad's footsteps, as you said, and become a lawyer. But it became clear to me quite early on in my career that whilst I liked it and I enjoyed it, I never loved it. And it never gave me the sense of purpose and fulfillment that I saw from my dad. And I think that's what I was looking for. And over the course of 20 years, I had a number of attempts not to be a lawyer anymore.
Now, before we jump in over 20 years, because that's a pretty good part of the journey. So let's rewind, or let's unpack that a bit. So you decided, okay, dad's a lawyer. It's a good career. Sounds interesting. I'll go down that path. And so you go and put in the time and effort, get the studies, and go down that route. Now, as you're coming out of, getting that degree, walk us through kind of what was that initial entrance into the working world.
Yeah, that's a great question. It was with a fairly small firm of solicitors based in Leeds in the northeast of England. It was a firm that my dad and I knew a little bit about. I'd done some work experience there the previous summer. And they had a general practice with some outstanding clients. And my thinking was, if I'm going to be a lawyer, what I want to do is try and go into an area of law that interests me. They had a lot of sports clients. They really, really punched above their weight. And I figured those are the kind of clients I want to work with. And that was true for me. I did some incredible work as a very, very junior solicitor that pretty much every other junior solicitor in the country would not have had access to. Some really high-profile stuff. But it's still, Devin, it was clear, like I still remember on day one, thinking, oh God, what have I done? What have I done? And at first I thought, well, maybe it's private practice. Maybe it's the life of a law firm for me. And so 2 or 3 years after that, I made the move in-house into business. And that suited me much better. Again, working with clients that I really found exciting, sports businesses, branded goods businesses which I had a connection with. But yet there was always that nagging question in my mind, like, is this what I want to be doing with the rest of my life?
So now, so you and I think, even if you do like, or, like the law and get into that area of practice and it lines up and makes sense and you enjoy it, I think you still have to go through and find that, area that excites you or that you can, do day in and day out. And then I have plenty of friends that were, reformed attorneys, so to speak, that decided, hey, I just don't want to do this anymore, or I want to do something else. And so now you're kind of going through that and figuring out, okay, there are areas and aspects of the law that I may like, but it's not where I want to set my career path or go forward for the foreseeable future. So as you're kind of going through that analysis or kind of figuring that out, where did you decide to, what was the next step, or where did you decide to go from there?
Sure. So I did quite a bit of experimentation in that kind of 20 years that I talked about earlier. So I delved into the world of property investment, studied about that, and quickly found out that it wasn't for me. I looked at internet marketing, same thing. One thing that I tried to do for a little longer than both those two was commercial mediation. So in the context of 2 businesses suing each other, one suing another, trying to be that middleman, bringing people together and trying to help them find a solution to their dispute. That was something that I gave it a shot at, maybe not as much as I could have done. It didn't work out, clearly. It didn't work out for me. I still find that area interesting, but again, it lasted a year of my life, and then I moved on again.
And just out of curiosity, because I think a lot of people into that. So when you say it didn't work out, was it more of just, you got worn out or burned out or didn't find it exciting anymore? Or was it you woke up on Monday and you hated your job, or kind of walk us through, how did you kind of come to that realization that, hey, this is just not the direction that I want to head in?
Yeah, I think the story I was telling myself during that 12 months was, it's too hard to get into. It's like a closed shop. And so 20 years ago or 25 years ago, when mediation came to this country, it's kind of been going a little bit longer than that in the US, I know, but there were mediators that became mediators at that time that are still mediators now. And if you're a solicitor, an attorney that's looking to appoint a mediator, you kind of go to the people that you already know. And so there was just a finite number of mediators that seemed to be getting all the work. Now, that's also a reflection on me not putting the effort in, not marketing myself well enough, all the steps that I kind of realized looking back that maybe I could have taken. So I kind of gave it a shot, kind of, and then decided, okay, it's not working. I need to earn some money again. And so went back into the law.
So now, so you say, okay, you gave it a shot, and I've never got into mediation. I always think it's an interesting, path to, to resolve a lot of issues. I think it can be rewarding and can a lot of times save, people time, money, and effort. But you said, okay, tried that out, wasn't for me or didn't work out. So now I'm going to go back into the law. So what did you, kind of, where did you go back into the law, or how did you re-engage or go back down that path?
Yeah. So in the UK at that time, commercial contracting, being a self-employed contractor, was becoming more popular. So, in-house legal teams, they needed a maternity cover, or they needed extra bodies for a period of time. There was a lot of work out there, and I was in demand, and it actually was fairly easy for me at that point in time to get a role. And so I had a series of different roles at different organizations. One of which I was there for 5 years. They're a kind of huge multinational. They have a retail business. They have food businesses. They have ingredients businesses. Really, really interesting group of companies. So I did a number of different roles for them over 5 years, and my brain was engaged in this time, and so those thoughts that I'd been having, like, is this the thing for me? They're at the back of my mind because I was going from role to role, kind of enjoying myself, learning, being challenged, growing, and not loving it still, but sufficiently engaged that I thought, okay, this is pretty good.
Mm. So now you go down that route, say, okay, this is pretty good, and maybe it's a bit more suiting or works out a bit better. So now, where did that take you to, or kind of walk us through, catch us up to how your journey has progressed to today, or kind of, or what? Because you kind of shifted gears at some point and kind of had a friend, or a wife of a friend, or friend of a friend, I can't remember which, that was into coaching, and you kind of went down that path. And so, kind of walk us through that a bit.
So a year or two before that conversation, we were having at the company I was working with, we had a kind of a legal team away day, or away a couple of days, and the head of legal brought in somebody to speak to us, and he called himself a mentor, because he had been a lawyer. He was kind of part mentor, part coach, and he worked with in-house legal teams. And so I got talking to him during a break in one of the sessions, and I really there was something about the way he approached his work and the conversation that we were having that just ignited me. And that was the seed, I think, to me kind of exploring, well, what is this thing that he's doing? And then a few months later, I was talking to a business colleague, and this is what you were talking about before. He said to me, you should talk to my sister. She's just become a coach, and she'd happily give you a couple of conversations. So I got in touch, and that was the moment, Devin. That was the moment that I feel like changed my life, because there was something about the way she was having me think about my own situation that I just hadn't thought in that way before. I really, really enjoyed the exchange of ideas and questions. And I came away, it literally was 2 conversations. And I came away thinking, I want to do this. I know I can do this. I want to do this. And in fact, she and I got back in touch with her a few weeks ago, because after those conversations, I didn't talk to her again. I went on my own path, but I got back in touch a couple of weeks ago, and it was so nice to see her again. And I still say, you're the reason, Alison, why I'm doing what I'm doing today.
No, that's awesome. And I'm sure it's kind of rewarding, or kind of cool to hear, hey, that kind of impactful, that was able to or set you on the direction that really that you found that was enjoyable, that was kind of the suiting, and kind of worked out well. And so now you get into coaching, and there's a lot of different types of coaching and a lot of different directions and things that people can take it in. So walk us through a little bit of how did you decide what area of coaching you were going to go into, and kind of how did you take that from a concept or an idea of, hey, this sounds interesting, to building a business around it? So kind of walk us through that a bit.
I'm laughing to myself, because I remember when I took a coaching qualification, and at the end of it, in my naivety, I thought, right, I'm a coach, and right, clients are going to come to me, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. And in fact, I had no idea who I wanted to coach at that point in time, and it took me at least 12 months to figure that out. One of the ideas I had at the beginning was I wanted to coach ex-soccer players, sport more generally, but specifically soccer, because I had seen and I'd read stories of ex-soccer players who had a great career, then their career finished, and they lost everything. They lost their sense of identity. They got divorced. They ran up gambling debts. They got depression. And I love sport and I love soccer. And I thought, this is a great idea. But there's a difference, I think, between a great idea. I thought I'd seen a gap in the market. There's a difference between that and knowing in your heart that you want to serve a particular type of client. And whilst I thought it was a good idea, I realized that actually those sports people, it'd be cool to work with them, but that's not really what my heart was telling me to do. And I came back to where I'd begun almost as a teenager, reading stories of entrepreneurial success in the newspapers. Remember when we used to read newspapers all those years ago? Reading about people who had an idea about a new product, a new service, something that disrupted the market. And from that seed of an idea, they'd created this fantastic business that was changing the world in some way. And so I had always loved that. And I figured those are the people that I want to work with.
No, sounds like it was, or you figured out that was the right path for you, and kind of figuring out what that marketplace is, or who's going to be the ones that you focus in on. Takes a bit of iteration or a bit of time, but once you kind of settle into it, makes a big difference. And so now as you go through and you hone in and you say, those are the people I'm going to focus on. This is kind of the clientele, and you get kind of focus on with that with your business. Now, how did it go? Did it take off once you figured that out like a rocket ship, or was it a slow build, or teetering on the verge of bankruptcy, or somewhere in the middle? But kind of walk us through that a bit.
It's some of all of that. It's been a slow build is kind of the overview of that. Partly because at the beginning, for the first 3-4 years, I decided that I wanted to retain some of the income from my legal work. So what I did is I negotiated with my employer at the time. I want to work for you 3 days a week, so I can focus 2 days a week on growing my coaching business. And so I had the income security, but I didn't necessarily have the time to devote to getting the business to go like a rocket ship. And it's really been only in this last year that I've maybe had the courage, you could say, to say, that's enough of legal work. I want to focus 100% of my time on doing what I love doing, that I've been able to make progress. Does that answer your question?
Yep. No, that's a great answer.
Good.
And I don't know there's any right or wrong answer, but I think it's just interesting to see how things progress. So now catch us up a bit, kind of where's the business at today? And, if you're to look out kind of the next 6 to 12 months, where do you see things headed? Yeah.
So right now, the people I work with, let me go back a step. If you're an executive, if you're a CEO, if you're a business owner, it can sometimes be a lonely place to be. Often you don't have anyone to talk to. You don't have anyone kind of above you. And for those that maybe have a board of directors above them, you can kind of tell them some stuff, but there's plenty that you don't want to tell them. So it can be a really lonely place. And so those are the kind of clients I work with that are looking for support, a sounding board, looking for somebody to help them gain more clarity, more peace of mind. And my clients are startups, and they are SMEs, small and medium-sized businesses. And the way I work generally is one-to-one. So me and, let's say, the CEO of a business, but I'm starting to branch out more into kind of team performance and team development work as well. I have found the fulfillment and the sense of purpose that I was looking for all those years. For me, I want to have the biggest impact in the world that I can possibly can, and I see that as happening by facilitating people that are themselves having impact. They're employing they're employing people, they're trying to change the world in some way. So that's what really gives me that kind of sense of purpose.
Well, awesome. Well, sounds like always great to be able to find that sense of purpose and put you on that path that makes life exciting and enjoyable. So, well, awesome. Well, now as we've kind of reached the present day of your journey and even looking a bit into the future of where things might be headed, great time to transition to the two questions I always like to ask at the end of each episode. So the first question I'd like to ask is, along your journey, what was the worst business decision you ever made? What'd you learn from it?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody about this earlier, and he said there are no bad business decisions because, as you said, we learn from every decision we make. But when I think about it, it was the decision to. So I'm a huge believer in personal development, and I think every great coach has a coach or a number of different coaches over the years. And I invested money I won't name the business. It's a fantastic business, but it wasn't right for me at that particular point in time. And what I didn't do is I knew in my heart that it was wrong, but I still went ahead and invested, paid the 12-month fees up front for the training, for the coaching, knowing in my heart that it wasn't the right thing to do. So what's the lesson? I have a good intuition for what's right and wrong for myself. I need to listen to that all the time.
No, and that's hard because sometimes you say, well, am I just telling myself this, or is my intuition right, or is it in the right direction, or am I telling myself what I want to hear, so to speak? And so it's always a balance of sometimes easy to make those mistakes, but other times ones that can provide a lot, a good direction, and there's a reason why you have that intuition and that kind of that gut feel. So sounds like an easy mistake to make, but a great one to learn from.
Yeah, for sure.
Second question now that I like to ask you. So now if you're talking to somebody that's just getting into a startup or a small business, what'd be the one piece of advice you give them?
Wow. One piece of advice for somebody just getting into startup or small business. Have a great support network around you. I think that is absolutely key. Whether it's an advisory board, whether it's, friends or family, whether it's a coach, whether it's a mentor, as I said earlier, it can be very, very lonely being in that world. And so, the stats, Devin, for entrepreneurs who have mental health challenges are way higher than for those with mental health challenges that aren't in the entrepreneurial world. So that's an indicator how challenging the world can be, the entrepreneurial world can be, and how isolating it can become. So get some support around you. That's my advice.
No, and I think that's a great one, and it's sometimes you feel like, hey, I need to do this on my own, or I need to go down my own way or figure it out. And sometimes you're pretty independent, which I raise my hand to be the first one to say, I struggle with wanting to just have that independence and do it on my own. But I think having that great support network, and that could be anything from, it can be a spouse, it can be a co-founder, it can just be it can be a coach, it can be a mentor, it can be a friend, but having that network makes it so that you can make it through those difficult times that are to come as you're doing the business and as you're getting the startup or the small business going. So it's definitely a great piece of advice. Well, now as we do wrap up this episode, if people want to reach out to you, they want to be a customer, they want to be a client, they want to be an employee, they want to be an investor, they want to be your next best friend, any or all of the above, what's the best way to reach out to you, contact you, find out more? Yeah,
so I'm easily available on email. So you can email me. My email address is julian@juliankharris.co.uk. I also have a short website, which is lonelyatthetop.co.uk. You can see a little bit about me there and get in touch with me too.
Awesome. Well, I definitely encourage people to reach out, support a great business. If nothing else, make a new best friend. So with that, thank you again for coming on the podcast. It's been fun. It's been a pleasure. Now, for all of you that are listeners that are out there, if you have your own journey to share and you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, we'd love to have you. So just go to inventiveguest.com, apply to be on the show. A couple more things as listeners. Make sure to click share, subscribe, leave us a review, help us to reach even more startups and small businesses to help them along their journey to success. With that, thank you again for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure, and wish the next leg of your journey even better than the last.